The gas station was quiet at 11 p.m. A single police car sat under the bright lights. Inside the convenience store, a cop stood by the coffee machine. Mid-50s, gray hair, calm face. He wore a regular police uniform, navy blue, slightly worn from years of service. His name tag read Officer Steven Seagal, but nobody paid attention to name tags anymore. He'd been a cop in this small town for 23 years, quiet, humble. Never caused trouble. Never sought attention. Most people in town knew him as that calm officer who's always polite. Nothing special. Nothing remarkable. Just another cop finishing another shift. He poured his coffee slowly, adding sugar with patience. The cashier scrolled through her phone, barely acknowledging him. Quiet night, Officer Seagal? She asked without looking up. Every night's quiet here, he replied softly with a slight smile. His voice was gentle. No authority, no edge. Just a tired cop ready to go home. Outside, engines roared. 4 cars pulled into the gas station. Fast, aggressive, loud music blasting. 16 young men stepped out. Tattoos, chains, bandanas, gang colors. They were from the city, passing through this small town, looking for trouble, looking for respect, looking to prove something. One of them, the leader with a scar on his face, noticed the police car. He smiled. Yo, check it out. Small town cop. The others laughed. Probably never even pulled his gun. Another said. They started walking toward the store entrance with aggressive swagger. Inside, Officer Seagal noticed them through the glass. His expression didn't change. He just kept sipping his coffee. Slowly, calmly, the door burst open. All 16 gang members poured inside, filling the small store. The cashier's eyes went wide with fear. You should leave, one thug told her. She grabbed her purse and ran out the back. Now it was just Officer Seagal and 16 gang members. Seagal said quietly, his voice still gentle. The gang members laughed at his calm greeting. Evening. The leader mocked. That's all you got to say? Seagal took another sip of coffee. Can I help you gentlemen with something? More laughter. Yeah, you can help us, the leader said, stepping closer. You can mind your business while we take what we want from this store. Seagal set his coffee cup down gently on the counter. I can't do that. Why not? Because I'm a police officer. It's my job to stop theft. The simplicity of his answer made them laugh harder. Your job. A young thug stepped forward. Old man, your job is to stay alive tonight. Another gang member pushed Seagal's shoulder. What you gonna do, Grandpa? Call for backup. A third shoved him from the other side.
There ain't no backup coming.
You're alone. Seagal absorbed each push without resistance. His breathing stayed calm, his hands remained at his sides. No anger. No fear. Just patience. Last warning, Seagal said softly. Leave now. Nobody gets hurt. The leader stepped right up to his face. Let me explain something to you, old man. There's 16 of us.
Own of you?
You ain't in no position to give warnings. I understand the math. Seagal replied calmly. Then you understand you're about to get hurt real bad. Seagal's eyes met the leader's, and for just a second, something flickered there. Something cold. Something ancient. Something dangerous, maybe, Seagal said quietly. Have you ever underestimated someone based on how they look? The youngest gang member couldn't wait anymore. Man, I'm tired of this. He threw a wild punch at Seagal's face. What happened next took 3 seconds. Seagal moved. Not fast like in movies, smooth, effortless, natural. He redirected the punch with one hand, used the attacker's momentum, and the young thug flipped completely over. He crashed into a display of chips. Bags exploded everywhere. The gang froze. Confusion spread across their faces. What just? 2 more attacked at once. Seagal stepped aside from one, guided him into the other. They collided and went down hard. The leader's face changed. Confidence turned to uncertainty. Who are you? Seagal straightened his uniform. I already told you. I'm Officer Steven Seagal. Seagal. The leader repeated the name. Then his eyes went wide. Wait, Steven Seagal, like T. Steven Seagal. There's only one? Seagal said calmly. The martial arts guy. The action movie star. I'm just a cop doing my job. The gang members looked at each other. Realization hitting them. They'd just attacked a 7th-degree black belt in Aikido, a martial arts legend, someone who'd trained for 40 years. But they'd thought he was just some weak old cop. But the leader's pride couldn't accept defeat.
I don't care who you are. There's still 16 of us,
Seagal corrected.
3 are already down. Jiham.
All 13 rushed at once. And that's when Steven Seagal showed them what 4 decades of training really meant. Would you have made the same mistake? 12 hours earlier, the police station morning briefing. Officer Steven Seagal sat in the back row, coffee in hand, listening quietly. He'd been doing this for 23 years. Same station, same routine, same calm presence. Chief Rodriguez stood at the front. We've got reports of a gang moving through nearby towns. They're hitting gas stations, convenience stores, getting aggressive with anyone who resists. He put photos on the board, 16 members armed. Dangerous. They've assaulted 3 people in the last week. An officer raised his hand. Do we know when they'll hit our town? Could be tonight. Could be next week. We need everyone alert. After the briefing, another officer, Mike, younger guy, approached Seagal. You worried, Steven? Seagal smiled softly. About what? About running into them alone. You work night shift solo. I'll be fine, Mike. But Steven, these guys are serious. Maybe you should request a partner for a few weeks. Seagal put a hand on Mike's shoulder. I appreciate the concern, but I've been doing this a long time. I know how to handle myself. Mike looked uncertain. Most people in the department knew Seagal was humble and calm. What they didn't know was why. Only the chief knew the full truth. Later that day, Chief Rodriguez called Seagal into his office. Steven, I'm worried about you working alone with this gang around. I'll be careful, Chief. I know you will. But, the chief hesitated. Maybe it's time to remind people who you really are. Seagal shook his head gently. That's not who I am anymore, Chief. I'm just a police officer now. You're Steven Seagal. Martial arts legend. You've got skills most cops train their whole lives to have a fraction of. And I use those skills to serve this community quietly. That's enough. The chief sighed. You know, when you applied here 23 years ago, I almost didn't believe it was really you. Steven Seagal, action star, martial artist, wanting to be a small town cop. I wanted a different life. Something real, something meaningful. You could have been anything. Why this? Seagal looked out the window at the small town. Because protecting people matters more than fame. Because this badge means something. Because I can actually make a difference here. The chief nodded slowly. Just be careful tonight. If you run into them, call for backup immediately. I will, Seagal promised, but they both knew he probably wouldn't need it. That evening, Seagal started his shift at 7 p.m. He drove through the quiet streets of the small town, checking businesses, waving to residents, being present. Most people waved back casually. Evening, Officer Seagal.
Night, Steven. Stay safe out there.
They knew him as the calm, friendly cop who'd been around forever. The one who helped Mrs. Patterson with her groceries, who coached Little League on weekends, who mediated neighbor disputes with patients. Nobody thought of him as dangerous or special. He was just Steven, the nice cop. At 10:45 p.m. he stopped at the gas station for coffee. Same station he'd stopped at for 23 years, same coffee, same routine. The cashier, Jenny, college student working nights, greeted him warmly. Hey, Officer Seagal. Usual. Please, Jenny. How's school? Midterms are killing me, but I'll survive. You always do. You're smart. She smiled at his gentle encouragement as she rang up his coffee. That's when the cars pulled in. Jenny saw them first. Her face went pale. Officer, those guys look. It's okay, Seagal said calmly. Just stayed calm, but she didn't. She'd heard the stories. She ran out the back. Seagal understood she was scared. He didn't blame her. The gang members entered with aggressive energy, and Seagal just stood there, coffee in hand, calm, patient, ready, not because he wanted to fight, but because he'd spent 23 years protecting this town, and he wasn't about to stop now. What the gang members didn't understand was this. Steven Seagal didn't stop being a martial arts master when he became a cop. He just chose to use those skills differently, quietly, humbly, only when absolutely necessary. But when necessary, he was still one of the most dangerous men alive, and they were about to find out why. Would you have the courage to face 16 attackers alone? Inside the gas station, 3 gang members already down, 13 still standing, but their confidence was shattered. The leader, Marcos, backed toward the door, his swagger completely gone. This is a mistake, he said, hands raised slightly. We're leaving. Seagal said calmly, blocking the exit. You're not. You can't stop all of us? You said that before. How's that working out? Marcos looked at his crew, some on the ground groaning, others standing but uncertain. His reputation was being destroyed in front of everyone. Every second he stood there, not fighting, not winning, he lost more respect. And respect was everything in his world.
You embarrassing me.
Marcos shouted, his voice cracking with desperation. No. Seagal replied gently. You're embarrassing yourself. The words cut deeper than any punch. Marcos felt his authority crumbling. In gang culture, weakness meant death. Being humiliated by one old cop, that was unacceptable. You think you're better than us? Marcos spat. No. I think I'm more disciplined. There's a difference. Discipline? Marcos laughed bitterly.
We got discipline. We run these streets.
Running streets isn't discipline. It's just violence without purpose. Another gang member, younger, desperate to prove himself, stepped forward.
Man, forget this talk. Let's rush him.
Wait, Marcos started, but it was too late. 6 gang members charged at once from different angles. They'd learned from the first failures. This time they came together, trying to overwhelm through sheer numbers. Seagal's expression remained calm. He'd faced this situation 1,000 times in training. Multiple attackers. No escape. Only skill. The first attacker came from the right. Seagal redirected him into the second. The third came from the left. Seagal used his momentum to send him sliding into a display. The fourth tried a tackle. Seagal dropped his weight, and the attacker flew over him into the others. It was like watching water flow around rocks. Every movement smooth. Effortless. Natural. No wasted energy. No excess force. Just pure technique refined over 40 years. One gang member grabbed a beer bottle and swung it. Seagal caught his wrist mid-swing, applied pressure to a nerve point. The bottle dropped. The gang member's legs buckled. Another pulled a knife. The gang members gasped. Now it was serious. But Seagal's expression didn't change. He moved faster than the knife could track. His hand struck the wrist. Not hard, but precisely. The knife clattered to the floor. Before anyone could react, Seagal kicked it away across the floor. Weapons won't help you. Seagal said quietly. They'll just get you hurt worse. The gang member clutched his numb wrist, eyes wide with fear. 2 more attacked from behind, thinking they could surprise him. Seagal sensed them without looking. He stepped aside, and they crashed into each other. Within 90 seconds, 9 gang members were on the ground. Only 7 still standing, including Marcos. The gas station was destroyed. Broken displays, spilled merchandise, shattered glass. But Seagal stood in the center, barely breathing hard, his uniform slightly disheveled but otherwise untouched. Marcos stared in disbelief. How is this possible? Training. Seagal replied simply. 40 years of it. Nobody's that good. I'm not special. I just never stopped learning. Never stopped practicing. Never stopped respecting the art. A young gang member, barely 18, spoke up, his voice shaking. You're really Steven Seagal? The movie guy? I was. Now I'm just a police officer? Why, you could be rich, famous. I am rich. Seagal interrupted gently. Not in money, in purpose. This badge means more to me than any movie ever did. Marcos couldn't accept it. His entire identity was built on being tough, being feared. And this one calm cop was destroying everything. I don't care who you are. Marcos screamed. We're taking you down. He pulled out a gun. The remaining gang members froze. This had escalated beyond a fight. Seagal's eyes locked onto the weapon. Put that away, he said, his voice still calm but carrying an edge of command. Or what? You gonna movie star me to death? No. I'm going to arrest you for assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. That's 10 years minimum, only if you're alive to testify. Seagal didn't move. Didn't flinch. Didn't show fear. You pull that trigger, your life is over. Not just prison, your life. You'll never be free again.
Better than being embarrassed?
Is it? Is your pride worth spending the next decade behind bars? Missing everything? Becoming nothing? Marcos's hand shook. The gun wavered. Think about what you're doing, Seagal said softly. Right now you're looking at assault charges. Maybe a year, maybe less with good behavior. You pull that trigger. Life in prison. Your choice. The gas station was silent except for the groaning of injured gang members. Marcos's face was twisted with conflict, pride versus survival. Finally, the gun lowered. He dropped it on the floor and put his hands up. I'm done, he said quietly. Seagal nodded and carefully picked up the weapon, securing it. Smart choice. Sirens wailed in the distance, backup finally arriving. Do you think Seagal should have disarmed him by force instead? Red and blue lights flooded through the windows. 5 police cars surrounded the gas station. Officers poured in, weapons drawn. Police! Nobody move! They stopped when they saw the scene. 16 gang members, 9 on the ground, 7 standing with hands raised. An officer, Steven Seagal, standing calmly in the middle, holding a secured firearm. Jesus, Steven, one officer breathed. You okay? I'm fine, Mike. But we're gonna need a lot of zip ties. Police station. Processing room, all 16 gang members being arrested, fingerprinted, photographed. News spread fast through the small town. Did you hear? Officer Seagal took down an entire gang by himself.
16 guys?
All alone? I heard he's actually famous or something. By morning, the story had exploded. Local news. Then national. Action star turned small. Town cop defeats gang single-handedly. Reporters flooded the small police station. Cameras, microphones. Questions shouted from everywhere. Chief Rodriguez held a press conference. Last night, Officer Steven Seagal prevented a robbery and defended himself against 16 attackers. No civilians were harmed. All suspects are in custody. Is it true he's Steven Seagal? The actor. Officer Seagal has been with our department for 23 years. He's an exemplary officer but did he use martial arts? He used appropriate force to defend himself and protect property. Can we speak with him? The chief hesitated. Officer Seagal prefers to keep a low profile. He's not interested in media attention. But the reporters weren't satisfied. They waited outside the station. Finally, at shift change, Seagal emerged, still in uniform. Tired, just wanting to go home. The reporters swarmed. Officer Seagal, how does it feel to be a hero? Can you describe the fight? Will you go back to making movies now? Seagal raised a hand, stopping the questions. I'm not a hero. I did my job. That's all. But you defeated 16 gang members alone. I defended myself using the training I've had my whole life. Any officer in my position would have done the same. You're being modest. No. Seagal interrupted firmly but politely. I'm being honest. I don't want attention. I want to do my job and serve my community. That's why I became a cop. Why did you become a cop? You were famous. Seagal was quiet for a moment, because fame doesn't matter. Movies don't matter. What matters is making a real difference in real people's lives. He gestured to the small town around them. These people, my neighbors, my community, they deserve protection. They deserve someone who cares. That's more important than any movie role. But surely your martial arts background. My martial arts training taught me discipline, respect, and humility. Those are the qualities that make a good police officer, not just the physical skills. A young reporter pushed forward. What would you say to young people who look up to you? Seagal looked directly at the camera. I'd say respect isn't taken by force. It's earned through character. Through how you treat others. Through the choices you make when nobody's watching. He paused. Those young men last night, they thought respect came from fear and violence. But real respect comes from integrity. From doing the right thing even when it's hard. Do you have any regrets about leaving Hollywood? None. This badge, he touched his uniform, means more to me than any award ever could. With that, he walked to his car, ignoring the shouted follow-up questions. Inside the station, Chief Rodriguez watched on the news. He really means it, Mike said, standing beside the chief. I know. That's why he's the best officer I've ever had. You think he'll stay? After all this attention? The chief smiled. Steven doesn't care about attention. He cares about purpose. He'll stay, and he was right. The next night, Officer Steven Seagal was back on patrol, same shift, same routine, same calm presence. Because for him, nothing had changed. He was still just a cop doing his job. Would you give up fame to do something more meaningful? But for the 16 gang members sitting in jail cells, everything had changed. County jail. 3 days later, Marcos sat alone in a cell staring at the wall. He'd been charged with assault on a police officer, attempted robbery, and brandishing a firearm. His public defender said he was looking at 5 to 7 years. 5 to 7 years because he'd underestimated one calm cop. The guard approached his cell. Williams, you have a visitor. Marcos looked up confused. His crew wouldn't visit. They were all locked up too. His family had disowned him years ago. Who? Officer Seagal. Marcos's heart raced. Why would the cop who arrested him come to visit? He was led to the visitor room, a small space with a table and 2 chairs. Seagal sat waiting, now in civilian clothes. Jeans and a simple shirt. He looked even more ordinary than in uniform. Marcos asked, sitting down, if you want.
To talk about what? You won.
I lost. Story over. Seagal shook his head. The story doesn't have to be over. It can be the beginning of a different story. Marcos laughed bitterly. I'm going to prison for 5 years. What beginning? The beginning of understanding who you really are. Not who the streets told you to be. You don't know anything about me. You're right. Seagal acknowledged. Father gone before he was born. Mother worked 3 jobs, never home. Raised by an older brother who was in the gang. The gang was the only family I had, Marcos said. Only place I belonged, only place that respected me. They didn't respect you, Seagal said gently. They used you. What's the difference? Respect means they care about your well-being, your future, your growth. Did the gang care about any of that? Marcos was quiet. They cared about what you could do for them. Seagal continued. How you could make them money. How you could intimidate people. That's not respect. That's exploitation. So what? It's too late now anyway. It's not too late. You're 23. You have your whole life ahead of you. In prison. 5 years, maybe less with good behavior. You'll be 28 when you get out. Still young. Still able to change everything. Marcos looked up, something flickering in his eyes. Hope maybe. Or just curiosity. Change to what? To whoever you want to be. The gang doesn't define you. Your mistakes don't define you. Your choices from this point forward, those define you. Easy for you, Steven Seagal. Famous, successful. I'm a small-town cop making 50 azores in a year. Seagal corrected. I gave up fame and money because they didn't make me happy. You know what makes me happy? What? Helping people. Making a difference. Going to bed knowing I did something meaningful. He leaned forward. You could have that too. After you serve your time, you could turn your life around. Get educated. Learn a trade. Help other young people avoid your mistakes. Who's gonna hire an ex-con? Lots of people. There are programs. Second chance employers. People who believe in redemption. Marcos wanted to believe it. But years of disappointment made it hard. Why do you care? He asked suddenly. I tried to hurt you. I pulled a gun on you. Why are you here? Seagal was quiet for a moment. Because 40 years ago I was angry too. I was young, confused, looking for identity through violence and aggression. You? Me? I got into fights. Made bad choices. I was heading down a dark path. What changed? A martial arts teacher saw something in me. Took me under his wing. Taught me discipline. Showed me that strength isn't about hurting people. It's about controlling yourself. Seagal met Marcos's eyes. He gave me a chance when nobody else would. Changed my entire life. Now I'm trying to pass that forward. Tears formed in Marcos's eyes. The first time he'd cried in years. I don't deserve a second chance. None of us do, Seagal said gently. But we get them anyway. The question is, what will you do with yours? Do people who make violent mistakes deserve second chances? Marcos wiped his eyes. What do I have to do? First, serve your time with good behavior. Take classes. Read, learn, grow then. Then when you get out, you come find me. I'll help you. I'll introduce you to people. Give you opportunities. But you have to do the work. I will, Marcos said, his voice stronger now.
I promise. Good.
Because this town needs people who understand both sides. People who've been in the darkness and found their way to the light. The guard signaled time was up. As Seagal stood to leave, Marcos called out, Officer Seagal.
Yeah, thank you.
For not giving up on me. Seagal smiled. I'm a cop. I don't give up on people. That's the job. 4.5 years later, Marcos Williams walked out of prison early, released for good behavior. He'd spent every day inside improving himself. Got his GED. Took college courses. Learned carpentry. Stayed out of trouble. The transformation was complete. He wasn't the same angry kid who'd attacked a cop in a gas station. He was a man with purpose. And he knew exactly where he was going. The small-town police station hadn't changed. Same building. Same people. Same calm energy. Marcos walked in nervous, wearing simple clothes and carrying a folder of certificates and documents. The desk sergeant looked up. Can I help you? I'm looking for Officer Steven Seagal. He told me to find him when I got out. The sergeant's eyes widened in recognition. You're Marcos Williams. The gas station incident. Yes, sir. But I'm different now. I promise. The sergeant studied him for a moment, then picked up the phone. Steven, you've got a visitor at the front desk. Minutes later, Seagal appeared. He was older now, late 50s, still calm. Still wearing the same uniform with the same patient expression. When he saw Marcos, his face lit up with genuine happiness. You made it? Seagal said, shaking his hand firmly. I made it, just like I promised. Come on. Let's talk in my office. They sat down and Marcos laid out his folder. I got my GED, took 12 college courses. Learned carpentry and basic electrical work. Got letters of recommendation from 3 prison counselors. Seagal flipped through the documents. Impressed. This is incredible work, Marcos. I meant what I said. I wanted to change. You gave me hope when nobody else would. You did the hard part. I just showed you the door. You walked through it. So,
What now?
Seagal leaned back in his chair. Now we get you started. I've been talking to some people over the years, preparing for this moment. What people? First, there's a construction company owner. He hires people with records. Gives them real opportunities. I called him yesterday. He's expecting you Monday morning. Marcos's eyes widened. A real job. A real job. Pays $18 an hour to start. Benefits after 3 months. If you work hard and show up on time, you can move up. I will. I swear I will. Second, there's a community center that works with at-risk youth. They need mentors. People who've been through the system and came out better. You want me to mentor kids? Who better? You've lived it. You know the mistakes. You know the path out. Those kids need someone who understands. Marcos felt emotion welling up. I don't know if I'm ready for that. You are. Trust me. You're exactly what they need. What if I mess up? What if I let them down? Seagal put a hand on his shoulder. You will mess up. Everyone does. But messing up isn't failure. Refusing to try is failure. Show up. Be honest. Share your story. That's all they need. Marcos nodded, fighting tears. Thank you. For everything. For believing in me when nobody else did. That's what cops do. We protect and serve. Sometimes that means arresting people. Sometimes it means helping them find a better path. The first week was hard. Marcos worked construction during the day. Tough physical labor under the hot sun. His body ached. His hands blistered. But he showed up every single day. On time. Ready to work. His boss noticed. You're a good worker, Williams. Keep this up. On Thursday evening, he went to the community center for his first mentoring session. 15 teenagers sat in a circle, all from rough backgrounds. All heading down the same path Marcos had walked. He stood in front of them, nervous. My name is Marcos. 5 years ago, I was in prison for attacking a police officer. The kids sat up, interested now. I thought I was tough. Thought violence made me a man. Thought the gang was my family. He paused. I was wrong about everything. For the next hour, he told his story. The mistakes, the pain, the emptiness of gang life, and then the change, the choice to be different, the hard work. I'm not going to lie to you, Marcos said. Changing is hard. Harder than staying the same. But staying the same means prison or death. That's it. Those are your options if you keep going down this path. One kid raised his hand, maybe 16, with gang tattoos and hard eyes. So what? You think you're better than us now? No, Marcos said firmly. I think I made better choices, and I think you can too. But only if you want to. The kid looked away, but Marcos saw something there. The same thing that had been in his own eyes 5 years ago. Anger covering up fear. Toughness covering up pain. After the session, Officer Seagal was waiting outside. How'd it go? Hard. But good. I think 1 or 2 of them actually listened. 1 or 2 is enough. You save 1 kid, you've changed the world. Marcos smiled. Is this what you feel? When you help people? Every single day? I get it now. Why you became a cop instead of staying famous. This feeling, it's better than anything. Seagal nodded. Welcome to the job. The real job. Making a difference. Over the next 6 months, Marcos's life stabilized. He got promoted at the construction company, now a supervisor making $24 an hour. He rented a small apartment. Got a used car. Started saving money. At the community center, he became one of their best mentors. Kids responded to him because he'd lived what they were living. He didn't judge. Didn't preach. Just shared his truth. I was you. I made your mistakes, and I'm telling you there's a better way. But you have to choose it. Nobody can force you. 3 kids from his first group quit the gang, enrolled in school. Started changing. It wasn't perfect. There were setbacks, failures, but progress happened 1 life at a time. 1 year after Marcos's release, the community center hosted an event, Second Chances Success Stories, 20 people who'd turned their lives around, including Marcos. Local news covered it. Community members attended. Politicians gave speeches about rehabilitation and redemption. But the most important person there was Officer Steven Seagal. He stood in the back, watching quietly. Marcos spotted him and walked over. You should be up there. On stage, getting recognition. Seagal shook his head. This is your moment, not mine. But you made this possible. No, you made this possible. I just opened a door. You walked through it and kept walking. The event coordinator called Marcos to the stage. He stood at the podium looking out at the crowd. 5 years ago, I was a different person, angry, violent, lost. He paused. I thought respect came from fear. That strength meant hurting others. That the only family I'd ever have was a gang. People leaned forward, listening intently. I was wrong. And it took getting arrested, getting beaten in a fight by one calm police officer, for me to see the truth. He looked directly at Seagal in the back. Officer Steven Seagal didn't just arrest me that night. He showed me something I'd never seen before: real strength. Not violence, not aggression, but discipline, control, purpose. When I pulled a gun on him, he didn't shoot me. He talked me down, gave me a choice. And then, even after everything I did, he visited me in jail, showed me a different path. Marcos's voice cracked with emotion. Nobody had ever done that for me. Nobody had ever believed I could be more than a criminal. He wiped his eyes. Today I have a job, an apartment. I'm mentoring kids who were just like me. I'm building a life I'm proud of. And I owed it all to one cop who saw potential in me when everyone else saw a threat. The crowd applauded. Seagal remained in the back, humble as always. After the event, reporters tried to interview him again. Officer Seagal, how does it feel seeing Marcos's transformation? It feels like justice, real justice, not punishment, restoration. Do you think all criminals can be rehabilitated? No. But more can be than we give them a chance to be. We're too quick to give up on people. What's your message to other law enforcement officers? Seagal thought carefully. Remember why we took this job. Not to punish, not to dominate, but to protect and serve. Sometimes that means arresting people. Sometimes it means helping them change. But isn't that soft on crime? No, it's smart on crime. Locking someone up temporarily and releasing them unchanged doesn't make anyone safer. Helping them transform makes everyone safer. A young reporter asked, "What made you believe in Marcos specifically?" I saw myself in him. The anger, the confusion, the pain disguised as toughness. I knew that with the right guidance, he could become something better. And if you'd been wrong, then I would have been wrong. But I'd rather give someone a chance and be wrong than never give them a chance at all. Do you think more police officers should focus on rehabilitation like Steven? 6 months later, Marcos got promoted again, construction site manager. He bought a small house, started dating someone, a teacher who worked with at-risk youth. His mentoring program expanded, now helping 20 kids instead of 15. And every Sunday, he had breakfast with Officer Steven Seagal at the local diner. Same diner, same booth, different energy. How's the new crew? Seagal asked, sipping coffee. Good, tough kids, but they're listening. One of them asked me to help him apply for college. That's huge.
Yeah.
His family doesn't believe in him, but I do. Just like you believed in me. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Steven, Marcos asked. Yeah. That night in the gas station, why didn't you just shoot us? You had the right to. We were attacking you. Seagal set down his coffee cup. Because I took an oath. To protect and serve. Not to kill unless absolutely necessary. But 16 against 1 was never really a threat. Not to me. I knew I could control the situation without lethal force. How did you know? 40 years of training, and 40 years of understanding people. You weren't evil. You were lost. There's a difference. Most cops wouldn't see it that way. Maybe not. But maybe they should.